All right, so we're gonna get started, everybody. Great. So, hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2026-2027 SMUSA election Board of Directors Forum. If most of you may know me, but if you don't, I am Jack Greenlaw. I'm the Chief Returning Officer for SMUSA Elections. Over there on the left, we have Ro, my Deputy Returning Officer. And then the right, we have Stella, Immediate and Communications Officer. So we are the elections team. For today, I will be serving as the moderator for this debate. But before we get started with all that, we're going to get started with a guest speaker. So our guest speaker today is Jennifer LaPlante. LaPlante. I had it before. She is a recognized leader in digital innovation, artificial intelligence, and technology strategy. She currently serves as the Deputy Minister of the Department of Cybersecurity and Digital Solutions for the Government of Nova Scotia, where she leads strategic efforts to enhance digital security and drive transformative technology initiatives across the province. Prior to this role, Jennifer held senior leadership positions, including Chief Growth and Investment Officer for Canada's Ocean Supercluster, where she championed innovation and commercialization in ocean technology. She was also an executive director of DeepSense, helping hundreds of companies adopt AI and data-driven solutions to accelerate growth. Jennifer holds an MBA and Master of Science in Computing and Data Analytics from St. Mary's University, and she co-founded the Halifax chapter of Women in Machine Learning and Data Science, and was recognized as one of Data IQ's top 100 influential people in AI for her contributions to the field. Her career bridges technology strategy and impact, making her a voice on innovation and digital transformation. And she's going to give a little speech for us today.
I don't know if I'm gonna hold the mic like that because you have way more style than I do. No, no, no. I meant like you look like you're an artist. You know what I mean? And I'm not. Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm loud. So I'm really happy to be here. I'll adjust it in case you're gonna add me to your day. Um, I'm impressed. First off, I was asking Jack, like, are you all first years, a bunch of you, and many of you are, and it's incredibly impressive first to see that you're here. When I was your age, I did an undergrad in sociology, first off. So I think one of the things to remember is you have no idea where your career is going to go. I'm 47. I still don't know what I want to do. I've had this journey of then I went and did a master's part-time over here, and then I did a master's part-time over there, and continuing to change roles. But the fact that you're looking at your role in a leadership position, you have to learn how to work with people, you have to learn how to communicate, and you realize that one person does not actually have control and authority and power. That you have to figure out how to communicate with them, how to compromise, because you're going to get into this position where everybody wants something different. And so you have to settle, you have to learn how to talk. Um, as you're doing all of this stuff that you're trying to do in terms of having a nice little debate, being good friends, having other people vote for you. No matter what you do, if you're not running tonight as well, I think there's a couple of pieces that you need to take away from this. Learning how to public speak and communicate, and then volunteering and being part of something. I've hired so many people over the 25 years that I've worked. And when I look at resumes, I'm paying attention to maybe what they did and maybe a project they worked on. I don't care what their grades are. A pass is a pass for the most part. And maybe they went on to do a really great master's. I am not 100% caring what university they went to for their master's either. What matters is they did stuff and then they actually are involved in their community. So if they end up having positions that they've held and they volunteered, that stands out on a resume. And I'm like, oh, I'm really curious about that because what that means is they learned how to work with other people. They've had jobs outside of studying. They've done other things that make me realize they can focus on not just their academic part, but they can go try and do really different things, meet new people, work in different ways. So take note from this and be sure that you have those things you put in your resume. And I'm an introvert. I'll go talk to people if I have to. I'm going to go home now and hide after I drive my kid to basketball. And that's what I like to do. But there's a piece about volunteering and being behind the scenes where you have to organize, you have to set up the communications, you have to check people in. You don't have to be the extrovert who talks to people. They come talk to you because you're organizing it. And it's the best spot to be in. So, one last piece I'm going to leave you with, whether you're looking for a job, you're looking to do something, you're looking to be on a committee, think about what you put on your resume about that. And I want you to walk into every opportunity that you have and think about what do you want from this opportunity. So you do a co-op. What is the takeaway that you think you need to put on your resume from that from summer, from that internship, from that role? Because that's what you're going to work towards the entire time you're there. So when you're applying for your next job, your next opportunity, you're filling that out. So part of, I wanted to be a leader. I want to make sure we make change. I want to save money. I want to reduce something. I want to reduce friction. Find the thing that you know that you want to do and write your resume bullets and then make it happen. So good luck to everyone and nice to meet you all. And that was long and thank you, but embarrassing. So have a great night.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. I'm testing this mic because this is the one the candidates will have. Um, just to go over the rules for today. So to start, we will be doing a introduction for each candidate. As a term for the order of all the things and the questions they'll get is all randomized. They have a sheet in front of them and they'll know who goes when. But yes, they'll have 2 minutes to introduce themselves to you guys and tell them about themselves. And then we'll have 3 set questions that they'll ask the answer, all 8 of them. And then at the end, we'll have opportunity for audience questions, determining how much time we have left. So we'll start with Kristen.
Oh, so I just sit here and do it? Yeah. Yeah, it's listening to do. Oh, it's up here. Fantastic. Okay. So I thought you want to stay here. Yeah, okay. Fantastic. Yeah. Hello, everyone. So, well, about myself, my name's Kristen Anthony. As a lot of you know, I'm a mature student. I graduated from the NSCC Business Administration program. Back, I did a 2+2 articulation program to St. Mary's University. Last year I started. So what about me? I'm a mature student, so I come from severe poverty. I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to have to earn everything with your bare hands. During my first years of my life, I worked into a lot of security work, which leads into over 50 lives saved over my course of that time. As well as that, I worked with the worst of society quotations. I worked with the people down their luck, struck down, neurodivergent people, the poverty, the worst. And that led me to have a passion of wanting to help people. So that's why I attended NSCC for the first time. And then my passion drove me to wanting to go into nonprofit leadership and to help people like me who never had a voice. They never truly got to be represented. So from my stints from there, I did a lot. I did 4 years in Enactus back home, co-founded that team in NSCC Marconi, did some student union work in the NSCC Student Association, did an internship in the Cayman Islands with a bunch of different people under NSCC International. On top of that as well, just a lot of that just comes from my passion of wanting to better myself and to give back to people who never had anything. And someone like me who knows what it's like to actually have, and they give people insight and the guidance I wish I had. So I've been an outcast and an outlier for most of my life. So I know what it's like to not actually have a voice. So for me, a lot of this stuff I do and the passions I do is based on the obligations I made to so many people, from my friends up here that helped me when I was struggling on my feet with 923 cents in my account, to back home with people that I made promise to who laughed in my face when I said I was becoming something one day. And finally, thank you all for listening. With everything, I really do believe that anyone can become something. Anyway, have a good one, guys.
So next we have Anisha. Do you want to go from here? Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anicia Shepherd. We good? Okay. I am a philosophy major here at SMU. I'm also a triple minor. I minor in political science, creative writing, and English. I'm a student ambassador here at SMU. I work at the New Student Welcome Center. I welcome new students. I give campus tours. And I'm running because I've always loved representing SMU. I've always wanted change. I've always seen that there's things that may not work at times and that there needs somebody that wants to represent the students. And SMU has always been a place that I have hold dearly. I would take any chance to represent it. I do academic welcome panels. You'll see my face plastered on the SMU arts stuff because they love to reuse my picture from the opening of the African Heritage Month ceremony. And I'm just here to help students and to be the voice that you guys need. And I really want to impart some change. I really love SMU and yeah, thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Lashan. I'm currently a finance and marketing major and I'm a third year student. Have been involved in campus activities and jobs as an RSO in the Loyola Residence Desk, which has given me a lot of insights, and they are facing a lot of issues in campus because we have a lot of diverse population here. And everyone has different concerns and needs which needs to be examined. And also I'm an executive member for the MENA Society for a semester now, which has helped me learn pros and cons of SMUSA. From the student representative, I'm running for the board of directors because I want to make SMUSA represent the true interest of student body, and I want to advocate for the student problems and actually make an impact in their life and make sure their voice is heard. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tyler McLean. I'm a commerce student in my second year and majoring in accounting. My advocacy and impact has gone a long way back. Ever since I was a little kid, even when I was in grade 2, collected pop tabs to get a wheelchair for a kid in my school, collected over 400 pairs of glasses for the Lions Recycle for Sight program, and have slowly grown that from, those what began as being a cute little kid working towards making a difference in the community to making real changes. As while in high school on my student council, as president of student council, I was able to make real change through our school lunch program. So that involved everything from talking to leaders in the community who secured funding for the school lunch program to working within the school to make sure that there was a good reception within the teachers, all the way up to advocating for the policies enacted by the Nova Scotia and Canadian government, leading to conversations and a research paper submitted to Justin Trudeau, which he later circulated to his offices. So I've really worked for a long time on advocating for what I believe, what issues I see in the community. Now, I'll admit I am not really the face of diversity on campus, but I have worked to make sure to talk to people, to learn from everyone and everyone's diverse perspectives. Growing up, I worked at my parents' pharmacy, a little small independently owned business, and every single Sunday and every single holiday, even Christmas morning, getting up to help the patients who were, you saw them every single day while they were recovering from opioid maintenance. And you saw them on their best days, you saw them on their worst days, and it got to see what kind of issues they face in their day to day. And I want to bring that perspective of having, even coming from a place of privilege, being able to take my voice and my experiences working with my community and making a real difference. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I hope you guys are having a great night. My name is Dominic. I am a second year student majoring in accounting and finance. If you want your voice to be heard on the table, I am your man. I'm going to listen to you. Make sure you guys engage with SMUSA. And most importantly, I will represent you. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Good evening. My name is Samad Gunjal. I'm a commerce student at St. Mary's University. I'm studying accounting and finance. I decided to run for board of directors because I've spent a lot of time thinking about how student organization works, from societies to events, to how student fees are used. I realized that a lot of students don't know how the decisions are actually being made. I also didn't at first. But then the curiosity turned into wanting to step up and be a part of the conversation itself. I'm someone who likes to understand how system works and how those systems can work better for the students. That's why I'm not running for a title. I'm running to be prepared. I'm running to be a prepared. I'm running to be a prepared, thoughtful voice at the table, someone who reads the policies, listens to students, and speaks up when things don't make sense. If elected, I want to focus on responsible financial oversight, strong support for student groups, as well as clear governance and making sure that student voices are reflected in board decisions. Thank you for being.
Okay, hi everybody. My name's Hannah. I am a third-year accounting and finance student, and I'm actively involved on campus. You may see me through Enactus. I'm a part of Square Roots. I co-lead with Tyler and another girl, Ashley. This is where we tackle food insecurity across Nova Scotia. And additionally, I work with our tech team in our competitions. Furthermore, on campus, I'm the director of finance for the Commerce Society, and I'm also a peer academic leader through the BCom Advising Center. Ultimately, I have worked with students throughout all my 3 years here at SMU, and I understand what changes can be made throughout my involvement. So ultimately, if I were to be elected here tonight, I have 3 pillars of change that I'm looking to make. My first one is finances. I'm advocating for published board spending. You all pay fees, it's expensive, and so I'm looking to have that available and accessible to you. Secondly, I'm looking to increase communication. This is through media presence and also through an anonymous feedback platform for students. Lastly, I'm looking to improve on accountability. We have so many policies here at SMU, and some of them haven't been updated in years. I'm advocating for annual reviews, and I'm also advocating for consistent committee meetings. Ultimately, I've been here a while. I've met so many students. I have amazing supporters here with me tonight. Thank you all for being here. And I'm very excited to be the voice for all of you at SPUSA. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Daniel. I'm a second-year commerce student planning to major in finance and marketing. I have a background in working for non-for-profits, leadership positions, and I want to advocate for students in 3 different ways. I want to advocate for students with disabilities, hoping to make things more accessible for them. I want to relieve financial stress on students. And I'm low-key forgetting, but thank you.
So before we get started with the round questions, I'll just give everyone a bit brief of what's happening. So it'll be a similar format. However, essentially we have the candidates all have 6 minutes each to answer a total of 3 questions. It's like a bank, so they can decide how many minutes they want to use. If it's makes it easier for me if everybody just uses 2 per, but totally up to you. You don't have to do that. Um, um, so again, it'll be the same format, and they've gotten these questions ahead of time. So they're aware of what we're asking. And then after these 3 questions, of course, we'll get to audience questions if we have time. So the first question is, when you look at each of the SMUSA boards that came before you, what contribution inspires you the most, and what does it inspire you to do? So we'll get started with Anisha.
So I do think that there are many initiatives that the SMUSA board did, big and small, that help students. But as a student and as a student running for board of directors, I think that academics are central to the student experience. Two things that I was inspired by was the tutor database. I think having budgetable and negotiable options for students to be able to get aided in learning, I think that's a very important thing. And I think that was a really good initiative. It also allowed students with disabilities to have this funded for them, that they can get these free tutor sessions, and as well allows opportunities for students who did well in the courses to be able to tutor other students. I was really inspired by that, and I think that's a really great initiative. The second one, which I'm quite passionate about, is the SMUSA book exchange. I think that textbook costs are quite obscene. If you're a student, you can be spending more than $100 per course for a textbook, and sometimes over $500 throughout the semester or more on a textbook. Having the SMUSA book exchange was really brilliant. I think having students be able to buy and sell their books at a cost maybe help to mitigate that extra charge. Because this does not count into things like extra databases that you might have to buy, other websites that you might have to buy. So tuition costs and then textbook costs, absolutely obscene. And I think that inspires me a lot because more affordability is necessary in academics. It's not just about scholarships to get students through the door. It's about helping them with the little costs and the day-to-day extra charges that come up. So I think that these are two initiatives that have really inspired me and things that I want to fix and help to build on as a board of director. Thank you.
Hello again. Looking back at the BODs who have before me, they have done a fantastic job making a lot of information accessible and policy reports more readable, friendly. And also, SMUSA remains a student-run organization that is financially responsible and transparent with the sustainable stuff which they do. And I don't know if everybody knows, during the last year's semester, academic finance facility part-time people went on strike. Our academic senate, Ethan, had a big uh, problem dealing with it because I used to see him in campus every single day, going into meetings, making his best move, trying to get back on campus and then trying to get people and lecturers to try to get back to normal. And also, of course, our Vice Chair Alex Melody was playing a big role on the last year's fees regarding the yearly book fees, which is actually inspiring me to run for the role because people are actually trying to make a change for SMUSA. And thank you.
One major thing that SMUSA has done over the last couple of years that marks what SMUSA is supposed to stand for is when they repealed the $5 mandatory fee for every single one of the societies. That fee structure, one, it's not necessary for all of these societies. It's a burden on all those societies to be collecting those fees, and it creates a significant barrier for students. It discourages you from just showing up, participating, and getting to be a part of it, and dipping your toes in the water instead of, it was forcing a type of commitment. We saw a similar thing with the yearbook fee that was mentioned, where we're going to be voting on a referendum to have that removed. Again, an example of an unnecessary cost that's being removed, that's a barrier to students. Moving forward, yes, we need to keep removing those barriers. We need to find the issues and the things that are standing in the way of our students that are there unnecessarily part of older systems that haven't been reviewed. That's why we need consistent policy reviews, but we also need to push to bigger, not just revising things that aren't working, but finding new initiatives that can keep working to support our students and to make the quality of life better for students. I'm also, very inspired by how the yearbook fee has been dealt with, where that money has been set aside and put towards bursaries over the past year. That is an example of responsible spending, of making the best of something that needed to be overturned with a referendum. I think that's responsible work from the board, and we need to continue facing challenges while also looking for the opportunities while we fix them. Thank you.
First off, I'd like to thank all the past MUSA members. You guys have done an amazing job. So thank you. But last year, Alex, who served on the SMUSA board, brought forward a small issue that seemed like a small issue that many students didn't even realize existed. An annual yearbook fee around to $5 or $7. For those who doesn't know, SMU hasn't had a yearbook for a long time. Students continue to pay this fee. You might think that it's only a few dollars. Who cares, right? On the surface, this seems like a small change, but it is these small changes that over time adds up, improving students' quality of life without them even knowing it. It inspires me to approach the board of directors role with the same mindset as Alex, paying close attention to detail, advocating for changes that might seem small, but make real differences over time. Thank you.
So what inspires me most about previous MUSA board is how they strengthen governance through real concrete policy changes. For example, recent board updated the elections policy to introduce a new role designed to expand student opportunities and strengthen election operations. And they also increased the voting period from 2 days to 3 days to help boost voter turnouts as well as increase accessibility for students with different schedules. They also improved important updates to the finance policy in October 2025 that reinforced audit timelines, financial reporting, and safeguards around student funds. And more recently, changes to the levied society policy added clear expectations around transparency, reporting, and how levy money is used. Those kind of updates show a board that actively responding to student needs and tightening systems to protect trust. That inspires me to keep building on that work, carefully reviewing policies as they come forward, asking tough questions about how decisions affect students, and making sure students actually understand what those policies mean in practice. Thank you.
Yeah, so looking back at previous boards, there have been many changes, both big and small, that could shape SMUSA the way it is today. But one contribution that I want to touch on is the implementation of the executive committee. This was a new committee this year, and it was in response to students needing very quick time turnarounds to very pressing concerns. Before, if you really needed something that was done quickly and in a timely manner with the board, that required everybody to come in, all 9 executives or who were sitting on the board, to meet together, find a time, which caused so many delays. With this implementation, it really shows the dedication that the board members have to the students, and it also shows that the power that the board holds in actually addressing student concerns quickly. So ultimately, this inspiration inspired me because it gives comfort and security to students. You now know that you can come to the board, and if you need action right away, there are a subsect of the board that can come to you right now and help you and fix your concerns. So if I were to be elected, I want to make these big changes as well that really increase security and the comfort that you can bring to the board. Ultimately, it is these changes that make student lives better on a day-to-day basis when you have these kind of crises or emergencies come up that you really need external support to help you out with. Thank you.
The contribution that I took a look into that inspired me the most was the Dash Fund. The Dash Fund is a fund that requires students to pay $5 annually into a fund to try and solve the housing crisis. While this may not seem like much, this $50,000 per year can unlock $1 million in funding due to nonprofits only needing to put 5% down to receive funding. This inspires me to bring people together to try and turn student pride into student power. Together, we are stronger. All we need is an initiative to work towards. Thank you.
1 minute, please. So my favorite contribution about SMUSA is not actually a direct policy, but it's the work ethic of every single person on the board. to me especially, it inspires so many people to go around and why we're in these seats today. The actions, what they've done for the past year, and what they really mean to me, especially from me coming from lacking any purpose and really feeling behind in the programs. For me especially, I'm going to talk about a young story from the gym. So I met one guy especially when I went to the gym for the first time, and I met him through his we chatted a little bit. I met him on bench, so we were just talking a little bit about what he wanted to do for the school, and that really inspired me to want to get up and now continue what I want to do, helping people who really need it. Thank you.
All right, it's time for the next question. So the question is, what would you do if someone wrote an unflattering article about the board and published it in the student newspaper? So we'll get started with LaShawn.
Thank you. My
Well-
first reaction for that be is acknowledging and appreciating the time and effort they have put to bring up the voice and their concern. The reason why it has happened is because these students' voices are not heard or taken into consideration. Regardless of the fact which is mentioned in the article, it can be true or false. As a student organization, the board is accountable to students' criticism, even if it's uncomfortable. If I'm elected, my approach towards this issue will be addressing it and not get dismissed. I will evaluate this issue with my board members, discuss the best care of interest which can be sorted, and maintain transparency, which is key. And I feel like acknowledging the problem and taking action shows you're a true leader. And also, at the end of the day, we are the student board and we stand for the students. Thank you.
One big thing to consider here is what the nature of this is. So it could be a defamatory article, it could be an article criticizing the actions of the board or criticizing board policy. In the case of defamatory statements made in the SMU journal or in the SMU journal, because it's a ratified society, we would have our VP of societies help us communicate with them to see if there's anything that should have been changed in the editing of it. But we would also look internally to investigate it. That's the purpose of our HR and governance committee, and that's also the purpose of our new executive committee for this year. If it was based on the actions of the board, then we would again use the executive committee and the HR and governance committee to look into and see what we as a board need to do to improve, to meet the expectations of students. If it was something criticizing one of the policies of SMUSA and a thing that we need to work on, most of the articles in the SMU journal are incredibly well researched and come from a place where people understand the issue. So it would be a good idea to bring that person on to help us amend that policy to make that change within SMUSA to make that difference. I think another key thing to note here is to make sure that we have processes in place so that people can bring their criticisms of the board to the board in a manner that it's able to be handled well. It could be, there's different channels and different people to be contacted, and you need to make sure that you're reaching out to the proper people, that the proper channels are used, but we as a board need to do a better job of communicating what those channels look like. I think that could look like a grievances policy in the future, one that outlines how you bring an issue to the board, depending on the nature of it, and that can go well with the work of our executive committee.
First, I would like to say that everyone has the right to have their own opinions. As a board of director member, my job is not to judge the person, but to reflect on what they're saying. My strategy is simple. I'm going to reach out to them and just listen. Hear them out. Really try and understand them, understand their perspective. And it's by actively engaging in these conversations where we can identify the problems, and that brings change. That should be the board of directors' main objective, bringing change for the better. Thank you.
I think criticism is a part of accountability, especially in a student-run organization. My first step would be to read the article carefully and understand the concern being raised. If there are factual errors, then I'll advocate for a clear and respectful correction through the proper channels. If the article raises real issues, then the board should take that seriously and reflect on how it can improve. As a board of director, I'll push for transparent communication, whether that means clarifying decisions, making documents easier to find, or explaining the reasonings behind votes in a public-facing manner. I wouldn't respond defensively. I'll see it as an opportunity to rebuild trust and show students that the board listens and is willing to be accountable. Thank you.
So if a student were to publish an article that potentially is against the board or is about a particular issue, my first response would just be to read the article. While that's super simple, it's really important to make sure that you do this with an open mind. It is too easy to get defensive. It is too easy to feel like you're being attacked if it's against you or against somebody on the board that you know. So ultimately, it is looking at the concern, seeing where the student is coming from, and looking at it holistically. My second response is to urge the board, everybody on the board, to do the exact same thing. Read it with intention, read it with their perspective, and make sure you hear everybody out. Next, there are two steps you can do from here. If the article has something to do with the board, or maybe it's based on misinformation, it is still board responsibility to make sure that their issues are passed on to people who can legitimately fix it or listen to their concerns and make a change. If this is an actual valid student concern and it is a request, or it is something that SMU needs to do better, this is a call to action for the board where you need to act almost immediately. Ultimately, it is the board's responsibility to act professionally and also listen to the students and figure out best ways to make that change. Almost done. However, the change on the board is only representative of nine, I guess, student perspectives. So it is ultimately reaching out to the person, seeing how they feel that they want a change to be made, and potentially even extending this problem to more students who could be facing a similar issue. Thank you.
If a student was to write an unflattering article about the board, personally, what I would do is firstly, not take it personally. There is no politician or anybody in any sort of political position that you can find that is generally liked by everybody and everybody likes what they do. What I would do is I would change my perspective, look at it from their angle. What can the board do better? Additionally, I would reach out to them, ask them personally, what would you like us to do? What can we do better? How can we better represent you? Thank you.
First things first, I would read the article and take the criticism to the chin. You know, my main talent is that no matter how many times I get down, I get back up. Right. So essentially, I also encourage any student who has any criticism for the current board to give us the feedback. And finally, I'd like to meet the person directly. I may be a kind person that will listen to everyone's story, but I am not a coward. I will ask anyone who wants to speak to me directly about any issues, even before the article is done, to make sure every voice is heard and their opinions are heard in the first place. So maybe even avoid the article entirely. Thank you for your time.
Get a minute, 30 seconds. One second. Ready. So firstly, if I got or there was an article written that was not favorable towards the SMUSA board, I would firstly change my mindset. I know that I'm not going in for any public arguments. I'm not going in to dismiss any criticism or to have any defensiveness of the action. In governance, in politics, in anything with journalism, accountability is very important. So first thing, which may seem obvious, but is very important, is to read the article. What are the concerns? What are the valid points that they're offering us? What are the misunderstandings? Are there any? And then obviously in responding, respect is very important. We want to make sure that everybody feels heard and that they don't feel like we're attacking them. We want to clarify the facts. Everybody's going to have an opinion, but at the end of the day, it is the facts that matter. And shortcomings. Did we have any shortcomings? We're not perfect, and at times we'll make mistakes. And obviously, decision making. it is very important for us to explain what we did to make this decision and why we thought that it was a perfect decision or it was something that could benefit everybody else. So I think that feedback is very important, as criticism can also be an opportunity for growth. Thank you.
So we're on to the third question now. So the third question is, how do you plan to encourage participation in SMUSA that accurately and proportionally represents the student body in such areas as on, off campus, graduate and undergraduate students, local and international, male and female, able and differently abled, Indigenous and non-Indigenous students? Tyler.
So first and foremost, I know that the board generally goes through inclusivity training at the beginning. That is a given. Even though I know that all of us have the student's best interest in mind, we may not necessarily have the education to go along with that to make sure that we can act in the student's best interest in that case. Beyond that, one important role for advocacy within SMUSA is this year the peer advocacy team. In the past, it's been the VP advocacy. I think one thing we can do to start the year right is look at both the successes and shortcomings of the transition over the last year and see what we can do to either better support that system. Maybe it looks like reverting to the old system, but just figuring out where we can make the best improvements there. I think another issue that we often have is when we ask for student voice, often the people who need their voice represented the most aren't necessarily who steps forward, who comes and talks at booths, who decide to fill out surveys. So working with the university administration to see where their student success supports are finding issues within the student body of the people that are being directed to them to see where we can best support our students. And that also means going and talking to the university administration about what the actual demographics of our school are. I know that there's publicly available information on international, domestic, and Nova Scotian male-female ratios and by divided by faculty, but not necessarily information about, all of the programs of study or the specific barriers that students are facing. So while still staying well within privacy rules, finding that information from the university to make sure that we can make decisions that impact our student body and all of the diverse perspectives.
I believe that SMUSA last year did an amazing job connecting with students, especially during the strike. For me to further encourage participation in SMUSA that represents all the student body, I would reach out to the students rather than waiting for students to reach out to us. Instead of posting on social media accounts, I want to be in the places where students are, where students gather. Set up a booth outside of Tim's Loyola periodically, having a bot member sit there, actively asking students about their concerns and struggles that we might not know. Instead of students getting involved with us, we get involved with the students by making sure they're heard. Thank you.
Representation starts with meeting students where they are, not expecting them to come to us. A lot of students don't engage because they feel SMUSA isn't built around their schedules, time, spaces, or communities. So my focus would be a consistent approach across different student groups and environments, commuters, resident students, graduate students, international students. That means showing up in different traffic spaces at different times, partnering with societies, and using simple, accessible online tools so students can give inputs without needing to attend a meeting. I also think participation grows when students feel their feedback actually leads to action. So I'll prioritize close the loop communication, sharing what I heard, what I brought to the board table, and what the outcome was in plain language. And finally, inclusion isn't just outreach; it's accessibility. I'll advocate for communication that's clear, easy to understand, and shared through multiple channels so students with different needs, schedules, and comfort levels can still participate. Thank you.
So encouraging participation of all students on SMU calls to the idea of equity and governance. So I have 3 reasons why maybe participation may be lacking. This is how accessible the board is, how we listen, and how we act. Ultimately, my first step into encouraging participation from every single student at SMU is removing those barriers to participation. This calls back to my campaign with launching the anonymous feedback platform. That means every student, regardless of where you're from, regardless of how you present yourself, or regardless of your beliefs, you can come to the board exactly in the way that you want to. You can come to a meeting publicly, but you can also choose to be confidential and express your concerns about diversity through this platform. Secondly, after this platform is created and students can equally share their concerns, it is about how the board responds to participation in order to keep encouraging it. So this means that you can that we can either go to external societies to seek support. We can talk to the advisors that are at SMU, talk to the faculty. Most people here have seen many students go by and have seen many different amendments to diversity and many different students from all different backgrounds. Ultimately, encouraging participation is the fact that students feel that they can come to the board in any way that they want to and feel like their participation is heard and has an actual action from it. Thank you.
I think participation starts with feeling welcomed and seen, not meetings and committees. Most students don't disengage not because they don't care, but because this system was built without them in mind. Commuting students often rush off to jobs and families. Graduate and international students often feel unseen. Students with disabilities face barriers long before they can reach a meeting. Indigenous and equity deserving students often feel underrepresented. I would advocate for engagement that's flexible, accessible, and intentional, meeting students where they are, offering hybrid and low barrier ways to participate. I would work through trusted student groups in order to help students come to SMUSA rather than hoping that they find SMUSA on their own. Representation shouldn't rely on who has the most free time or the confidence to show up. Participation grows as students see themselves reflected in these outcomes. When students recognize feedback shaping change, trust is built, and trust is what turns silence into participation. I want to help build a SMUSA where every student feels that their voice is heard and that everybody has the power to shape change, not just a few of us. Thank you.
4 minutes, please. Yep. So, first things first, to actually change things, we actually have to show as a board and as me as a person that we generally care for the students and keeping the promises I've made along the way. First things first, this is a tobacco tie. If anyone knows about this, I'm going to explain it briefly. It is indigenous honor code that's used to translate to your ancestors to keep a promise. I made this promise last year to make sure that I would fight for students' voices as much as I can, right? So that comes to a lot of stuff, right? As a white man, especially coming from rural Cape Breton, I have a lot of privilege I was born with. So coming with that, put that aside for a second. We have a lot of unlearning to do from our perspective and to actually make sure that the people's voices are heard regardless of community. Open discussion, as well as any students in terms of these areas, I would love to hear from you. I loved hearing perspectives. I love hearing culture. I love hearing about everyone's story because I never got the chance to share mine. Furthermore, to not just say my words and actually go with my actions, but I talk a bit as well of what I've done in terms of my past to actually show why I'd be good to representing every student, which would be, first of all, I live with 5 South Asian roommates. So I understand the critical path of actually dealing with systemic racism and online bias towards South Asian communities. On top of this as well, as some people know, with the Enactus team, I tried making my own business venture in terms of giving Indigenous people clean drinking water, as well as trying to fulfill all 17 SDGs and give them economic liberty with the profits they see from my business. Unfortunately, I had to stop that due to certain tensions currently. It'd be politically and racially insensitive if I continued it. I've also reached out to Skylar myself, the Indigenous advisor on campus, to try working with collaborations between the Indigenous Society, trying to elevate Indigenous cultures and lives on campus. I also Tom, also, as you guys might know, I've been around the Societies Expo as well, and I've had a lot of conversation about people's cultures, but specifically about the conflicts in Sudan and Palestine. I also reiterated at the end of this that I'm only here for every single person who has helped me got here, and I really want to give that back in spades. For the people that I came in here, was unsure when I first showed up at the first board of director meeting last year. Just taking the time, fantastic. And throughout my time here at SMU, especially to the promise I made to be on this stage today, was be to help everyone in general, but especially to my mother, who I promised, I promised that was supposed to be on her deathbed, that I would come back here and represent student voices. People like me, Cape Breton street trash, only have their word to believe, and I try my best, with my very best ability, to keep it, no matter the cost. Thank you.
So I think that we're lacking in participation because, some students and some groups are still underrepresented. The SMUSA board has been doing a wonderful job, but it's really hard to have all groups represented. I have a little bit more of a concrete plan. I think that our notice board is extremely confusing. It's just a ton of events plastered on there, and nobody can really understand. You're just going and you're looking, and you're confused. I think that we need a digital database. I think we need our events to be placed on this database, to have times for these database. You can apply for these things here. And that way, students who live on campus, off campus is allowed to have the same opportunities. Some things may be first come, first served basis. And this way, everybody has an equal opportunity to get there. I think that our notice boards are one of our biggest problems when it comes to participation. Students just don't know what's really going on. And having your inbox flooded with over hundreds of emails about different events does get really overwhelming. I think this could really help all students of all kinds, even our graduate students. We know that they have much different experience to us than undergraduate students. Sometimes they're dealing with full course loads, they're dealing with internships, full-time jobs, family responsibilities. And I think we need events also more focused towards them. And I think that their perspective also brought to the board. We know we're a major undergraduate university, but we also have a subset of graduate students. So I think in having a digital data space, we can have more digital communication and more effective and clear online engagement for our students. And that in a way will help with participation. Thank you.
To encourage participation in SMUSA that truly reflects the diversity of the students by listening to students' concerns and understand what's involved. I don't know if anybody knows, SMUSA did a really great job last year by introducing this app called Bounce. Does anybody know? Put your hands up. Yeah. See, most of the people in campus don't know this app is actually active, which is an amazing app which helps students actively engage in events and make sure that they come to events and whatnot. And then it gives this, and also I would reduce down events fees. Like people, when you think about it, the Commerce Society also had a lot of events going on, which their budget was really, really high for. Like their gala was around $100 ticket, I guess. Personally, I wouldn't afford that because like it's way too expensive. And if you reduce it down, I would say you would see a lot of people showing up and participating for that and improving the Bounce app and letting people actually know this app exists. Thank you.
All right, so now we're getting into our audience question section. So how this will work, because we have a lot of time and 8 board members, I will usually give you guys all 2 minutes to answer your questions. But if it's something that I deem that's something that's shorter to answer, like what's your favorite flavor of pizza, maybe get 30 seconds to answer that or something like that. But of course, these questions can be asked by anyone in the audience. Feel free, don't hesitate to ask. Just know that the questions have to pertain to SMUSA and anything that would be relevant to the SMU board. So maybe don't ask what their favorite flavor of pizza is or like geopolitical questions. So now I'll open the floor to anyone. I mean, you can pass the mic on if you want.
First off, congratulations to all of you who are running for the board of directors. Putting yourself forward to advocate for students takes a lot of courage, accountability, and a genuine commitment to service. As a board member, how would you ensure that decisions are fair, policy compliant, consistent, while preventing personal bias from influencing outcomes and ensuring due process is upheld? Thank you.
Great. So as you see on the sheet, when you flip it over, it's the order public question 1. So Dominic will start.
I think keeping everything fair, super important. How can we do that? I think every single person that sits here, we should take each other accountable, not just relying on the main boss, the chair, whatever it is. I think we should rely on each other and make sure everybody is accountable for their action. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question? Oh, okay. Fairness would be for me, fairness would be a preparation. So let's say before every single meeting, I'll read all the policies. Before I'll prepare in advance for everything, and I'll ask questions if any of the decisions they don't line up with any of the rules or previous decisions. For consistency, I would say that if we set a standard for one society, one appeal, one budget item, I'd say we keep that same standard for everything else. For for personal bias, I would say the best thing to do would be being honest about it. Let's say if I have a conflict of interest, I would just declare it and I'll step back. I don't think that's weakness. That's just how we'll protect the integrity of the board. And for due processes, I would say I'll make sure that people know what the whole process is. They have had their chance to be heard, and all the process is documented. And let's say if they look back on the process and they will be like, okay, that was done in a fair way. Even if they don't like the outcome, it should be done in a fair way. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, so first looking at procedure and following policy, this stems primarily from how the board is onboarded and how it's trained. We have an amazing board right now with some members who are returning, who are able to bestow this knowledge on the board incoming, but it's also important that we as candidates take on the responsibility ourselves to read through the policies, to understand and make sure that everything is done professionally and in the right order. So for keeping everybody accountable, this is ultimately the respect and the responsibility of the rest of the board. We, while we will all be friends, we are all SMU students. We are all here professionally in the capacity for all SMU students. So keeping everybody accountable on the board is also another very important aspect. When thinking about unbiases, this also stems from transparency, making sure that all students are aware from concerns that affect everybody and ensuring that everything is accurately communicated and communicated professionally. Thank you.
Very similarly to what the others previously have said, I think that the main part of this comes down to holding each other accountable and also being transparent. Kind of blanked in my intro, but that was one of the main things that I do want to focus on this upcoming year. There's so many students at SMU that don't know how the board operates. And so just kind of letting them know what we are doing and not making them read between the lines is very important. And yeah, just hold each other accountable and be more transparent.
So thanks for the question, Nidhi. It's a very important topic. There's been, the board's had its up and downs the past few years, especially pertaining to conflict of interest, bias. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's happened. It's happened in meetings, but I think what should happen for especially is, we should get to be able to form when the board all gets together with whoever they're on. They should be able to have a little bit more nuance and more perspective outside of just the knowledge of of the board itself. They should get to know each other personally better, because the fact that if you guys know each other better, you guys know your strengths and weaknesses, you guys can overall become a better team of exceptionally better, because the fact that if there's any discrepancies, any insecurities, any strengths, any weaknesses, all that stuff, it all gets removed away with more sessions of more strength bonding. Potential, maybe that could be through retreats, maybe it can just be through external meetings, maybe it can be doing like a 75-hour challenge like I'm doing right now. But on top of this as well, there'll be more noted, not to read my full hand. It won't be on my policy statement, but eventually when the board be done, and if I do get elected, there I would be working towards with the board together. It's not going to be a big thing. I'll be working towards a conflict of interest policy, and that'd be working well as to make sure the interpersonal relationships are kept at an accord and professional level. Thank you.
I hate to be a parrot and repeat what everybody else has said, but truly they're right. I think the three key words is the knowledge, our accountability, and our transparency. As board members, we're making this a priority. Okay, we're going to be training ourselves. We're going to be putting this first at many times. And so we are making a promise to you guys that this is what we're doing. This is something that we're going to take as an important and a big decision. And then our accountability. We're going to try our best to keep ourselves accountable and keep each other accountable. And most importantly, transparency. And in having transparency, you can keep me accountable as well to make sure that your promises and your needs are met. Right.
Thank you, Nidhi, for the question. As everybody said, holding accountable for everybody, like holding each other accountable is the best way, and treating everybody with fairness and equality is the best way of doing it, and doing it more professional, I would say. And that would be my approach. Thank you.
Not to be a broken record, I know a lot of great points have been made up here, but two kind of additional things. One, any relevant policies to what's happening. I know a lot of people could come to SMUSA without an understanding of what the actual board processes are, so make sure to send any relevant policy to them. And then the second thing would be create a clear timeline, both to be used internally so that SMUSA has thought consciously about how we're going to act and handle the situation, but also make it clear to the person that we're working with what that process is going to look like. And secondly, and much less importantly, barbecue chicken pizza is the best. Thank you.
All right, Ethan, I'll be the one to run the mic up. One sec.
Oh yeah, you can project it. So.
When I come to the board, I would bring with myself, I will bring honesty. I won't just make empty promises and then be like, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that. I'll try my best to make sure that, any issue that comes to me, I'll try my best to push it to the board and see if it gets addressed. Not at the end of the day, what I want to do is I want to give my best. I want to give all my efforts. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. We can see it in the future, but what matters is if I give my best. That's it. Thank you.
So me personally, this being my third year here at SMU, one of the main things that I bring to the table is my involvement. I've been with multiple societies, I'm heavily involved in Enactus, and I also work with tutoring students. This means that I have met so many people, I've engaged with so many students, and I understand what students go through on a daily basis. And additionally, on top of my involvements, I also bring professional experience. Being on the board means you have to be professional. Sometimes you have to leave your feelings at the door and potentially think objectively and follow policy rules. So ultimately, by being in a professional environment through being in accounting and finance, this ultimately means that I can also bring external experiences into the SMUSA office. And lastly, when I'm thinking about what I bring to the table, this is sheer passion for SMU students. I chose SMU out of any university for me to come to because I fell in love with the environment and I absolutely love all the students here. We are a tight-knit community. Almost everybody knows each other. I know half the people on the board who are running. It is that interest that truly inspires me to make a change in SMUSA. I know so many people, I've had so many experiences, and I want to make sure that people get the experience that they want to get out of their university life. Thank you.
Personally, I think the biggest thing that I can bring to the table is just my understanding of people as a whole. I would say that I'm a pretty personable guy, I'm pretty social, and I have been my whole life, and that's given me an understanding of what people are like fundamentally, coming from so many different backgrounds. Personally, I faced a lot of adversity in my life, whether that maybe having a single parent, physical disabilities, among other things, and that instills a drive within me to help other people. Yeah, people may see this as a position of power, but it's also a position to be able to help people and create a better space for all students at SMU.
So what I bring to the experience is I like taking this joke. It's infinite lore if you don't enact this. I bring a lot of unique perspectives to the table, being a unique student, being a mature student, coming from severe poverty and getting everything through my bare hands, going and working in now 3 countries. I worked in the Cayman Islands. I worked in Canada. I'm working in New York this summer. So on top of that as well, I worked in my backgrounds of I've been in basically every single sector of business besides coding. So I have a unique perspective of being able to understand the generalization of any single position, as well as this my ability and as well just my ability and wanting to learn and understand people's perspectives. As a lot of people know, I've went around prior and I liked asking people their story because again, I never got to do it myself. So in my opinion, like that's what I bring to the table, just the overall, I guess, infinite lore I really have. And I typically got a guy for everything, as some people know. So, maybe some days I can bring some random absurd lore fun fact I have and really get to bring that fresh dynamic perspective to the table. Thank you.
So I don't know if you noticed, but we have great colleagues, but all of them are commerce and accounting, and I might just be the only art student who is running for board of directors. But even beyond that, that does not take away from them. They would all be great board of directors, but I do think that I'm quite passionate and I'm creative. I really, really want this. I want to help students. It's always been my thing to represent and to be the voice for people that they need. And so I'm relentless. I'm a bit of a perfectionist as well. Like I will run on something until I get it right. And I think that is a trait that could really be valuable as a board of director member. Thank you.
What I bring to the table is fairness, honesty, and involvement. As I work as an RSO, I meet a lot of people and I engage with a lot of people, and they have a lot of concern which needs to be brought up. And then involving them and making sure every voice is heard in campus is how I would do it. And thank you.
One major thing that I bring to the table is operational leadership. As much as our role is to bring on change, we're bringing on change in a big, messy, complicated system that is our university. and our student association. So an understanding of those complexities is incredibly important. The work that I've done with Square Roots, a giant beast that has 40 to 50 volunteers in the community. We've got 10 students here, a leadership team of 3, and working within, Enactus' framework. But I've also worked to write the policy and procedures manual for my parents' pharmacy, which pharmacy is a regulatory nightmare to deal with. So dealing with those systems and those complexities and being able to take the voice of students and make that change within a system that those students don't necessarily understand, bringing a background in operations in youth organizations, both in risk management for 4-H, which supports nearly 2,000 youth in Nova Scotia, as well as working with my high school and the school advisory committee, working to create change there. So it's having an understanding of an incredibly messy system and being able to turn diverse student voices into real changes within that system.
What is the foundation of a relationship? Communication. That's one thing I think I bring most valuable to the table. It's my skill of communication and my commitment. I'm not afraid to reach out. Throughout the whole night, I think communication was a big thing for me. My whole thing is advocating for more communication between the students, between the school, and between SMUSA. I'm ready here tonight, and I'm ready to commit to the role. I am ready to communicate and represent everybody. Thank you.
All right. Get the person behind Lisa in the red shirt. Rohit.
Yeah, of course. This is part of my campaign, actually, and this is implementing that. What I talked about is the anonymous feedback platform. Communication and transparency is very important, but it's not always accessible to everybody to communicate to the board. Ultimately, if you asked me if I had a problem about 2 years ago in my first year, and I really feel like I needed to make a change, I would not have shown up to a public board meeting, and I would have expressed my concern in front of everybody. There are multiple students here, probably hundreds, that would really benefit from the opportunity of having an anonymous feedback platform. And when thinking about transparency, one of the things that would really be beneficial to implement with this platform is ensuring that every single concern submitted through this platform is covered at the next board meeting. Having a slotted time to hear the concerns of students and having that communication reached out to us and communicated professionally and clearly is a concrete plan, I believe, to really ensure that communication and transparency is reflected throughout the board and back to students. Thank you.
Personally, I think transparency within is a huge thing that we do need to cover. Although it may be accessible, I feel that a lot of students still don't know what or how SMUSA operates monthly, weekly, however. So I think that after each board meeting, we can have a summary of what's happened. We can live stream the meeting so that people who aren't able to actually be there in person are able to keep up to date with the changes that are coming to the Student Association. Thank you.
First of all, fantastic question, Rohit. I really do appreciate it. So transparency is really hard because the fact that on top of all of us working, like people like working internships plus SMUSA plus schoolwork, right? So first thing I'd like to incorporate is obviously more talks over by Tim's. That'd be very like with the board itself, not just the brand of SMUSA, and then have people like me on that to actually engage with the students. On top of that as well, go around ask around like like I'm working, I guess not really working in the shadows, but asking people what they think on the ground floor, like walking around the hallways, seeing what they think. If you hear an issue, walk up to them. That's what I think would be. I mean, on top of actually having a critical plan, I'd also like to think I really like Daniel's opinion of like live streaming and having audio transaction recordings for the SMUSA meetings, because that would greatly so that would make sure that both parties involved would actually have a fantastic way to actually hear what the students are saying and what issues are being brought up at the table if people who do not have the privilege to be able to attend these meetings. Thank you.
So I'm going to be very honest with you. We are board members. We deal in policy. We are told that our executive team is the one who reaches out to students and facilitates that communication and that transparency. But maybe that's something that we need to change. Maybe board members need to be more interested in the day-to-days of the students. That's something that we can work on. That is something that maybe, or it's just that our executives need to be more communicative with our students. And that's a plan that is very possible. We can actually talk to our executives. Maybe they need to do more meetings. Maybe they need to have more surveys. Maybe we need to ask for the students' opinions more. Or maybe board directors needs to start to do that. If that is something that the students really are looking for, then that's a change that we can look to amend. So, yeah.
As everybody mentioned, I would say setting up tables by teams or else walking up to people. I'm a very positive, smiley guy, so you can approach me anytime and talk to me about anything, and I'll do my best interest to try to make it happen and work out and communicate with you all and give you feedback regarding what happened during the meeting and whatnot. Thank you.
I think one thing looking back at past meeting minutes, looking at 3 or 4 years worth of minutes, one big thing that's caused some friction with SMUSA in the past and made people feel like they weren't necessarily being heard is when questions were brought to the board during the meetings that the board didn't necessarily have time to plan an answer and would have required some conversation within the board. So it's an idea that works well with Hannah's platform idea. It's just to be able to introduce ideas to the board earlier so that some discussion can be had and some ideas can be formed so that at the public meeting we can have real conversations based on actual information and have the board be able to have a critical do some critical thinking about it and not just need to think on the spot to answer those things which may have caused friction in the past.
Can I get a show of hands who uses YouTube every day? Can we think about why on the meetings we have a link for Zoom but not for YouTube Live? It's a simple way to alert students to join the meeting without going out of our way to alert them. I think transparency is very simple. Making sure the meetings are public, which they are right now, but we can have it even more out there for students. Thank you.
So like Daniel said earlier about live streams, we can do like on Instagram, we can do like monthly live streams. In those live stream sessions, students can come join the live stream. They can ask questions, any doubts they have about policies, anything. That's something we can do. Additionally, what we can do is we can connect with them more, what we heard from them, then how we presented it to on the board and what the outcome was. So that way they feel that their voices are being heard, what's the outcome, they're being posted about it, so they feel more connected. So that's something we can do as well. Thank you.
All right, Ro, we have a question. Oh. Great. Just quickly before we start, I'm going to do 1 minute so we can get to more questions. So they're just 1 minute intended instead of 2 this time.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, could you repeat that just one more time? Um, Honestly, I think that is somewhat on the board as a whole to try and teach people about those policies. We could go through different forms of marketing online because, as we know, it's a very digitized society. Everybody's on their phone 24/7. So what we can do is we can start to just take time out of our weeks, out of our months, whatever, to plan to teach people about some of the most important policies that are affecting them day to day, week to week, year to year, and try and use social media to implement some form of learning. And yeah.
Whoever said it's a fantastic question. A lot of people I've asked around for for critiques of what I should do for board really don't know a lot about the board itself. So a lot of things I would do very similar. Maybe even have like an info session with the SMUSA board once a semester. That could be a great way to like a more of a friendly event to talk about the policy itself, but be more lighthearted, more open, and more kind of like more interpretation from the public and more understanding, as this adding more social media blasts about policies we directly change on top of people's communication plans would be a fantastic way to share social media engagement, as well as a lot of the board has done this year, as well as be able to have a quick, easy to read way to actually see the policies be changed in real time and what we've changed in the first place. Thank you.
I think we need info sessions. I think a great way to impact students who don't understand is to explain to them. And most importantly, I do think it needs to be on TikTok and less than 5 minutes, because let's be honest, if you want to learn about something and you want to learn about many things at the same time, a lot of us is going to TikTok, a lot of us is going to Instagram. We want short videos that give us compact instructions that is well explained. I think that is an initiative that we can definitely have here for the SMUSA Award. Thank you.
As my fellow candidates mentioned, maybe implementing workshops or else making the students get engaged in societies so that they can learn the policies. And then as a executive of MENA Society, I know some of the policies which like I do understand what's in there. So making them involved in societies and making them participate would be a great approach, I think. Thank you.
I'd just like to share with anyone here who may not know it already. All of the board policies are available on the SMUSA website. I think it is important that our student body know that they can go at any time and learn that and reach out and figure out those things. But it can be complicated to navigate for yourself. So it's a good idea to when people email with questions, if they have to do with policy, be able to attach those policies right there to communicate that information to them. I think another thing is that our executives of SMUSA societies are often people that questions are directed to first. There's many people who are leading societies, and they're often very public-facing people. So at our regular society roundtables that SMUSA has to make sure that SMUSA is on the same page as the societies, it could be a good opportunity to make them aware of the policies that may impact their members so that they can act as a bit of a point of contact and a way to kind of disseminate information through the student body about our policies.
My roommate from last year, he was an engineer student. Not once has he been in a meeting throughout the whole year. And that's the main thing for me. Most people don't have the time to go to an info session to read all the policies on SMUSA website. A simple way to implement a way for SMUSA to connect with students, again, is the booth that people would go to in between classes. The 15 minutes from class A to class B, from him walking to Loyola to Eng building, we can have a booth in the middle of the quad, have small info sessions there. Wouldn't take them a long time, but it would have a chance for the chance of the people who actually cares to learn more about SMUSA. Thank you.
So, like I mentioned in the previous answer, I said about, we said live streams, right? In those live streams, they can come in, they can ask questions. We are there to answer those questions. They can ask about any doubts, anything they have about any policies that are there. We can answer them there. Then additionally, as they added, we can also do like info sessions at different places. We can also collaborate with different societies and have some people from the board go there and they will advocate people, let them know more information about policies. They can you can go up to the board person present there at the society's event and you can ask them questions as well. So that's something we can do. Thank you.
I love this question because it's also part of my campaign, which is launching a board director's social media page. Again, like you mentioned, TikTok, but I think especially Instagram reaches the most amount of students to have digestible content about exactly what the board is talking about. I also think that this is really important to meet back with the executives. The executives, again, meet with the students the most. And I think that there are many engaging and fun ways that you can really educate students about what policies are. One thing I actually just thought of here right now is that the executives could have a policy of the week. There could be a post posted. This is the highlighted policy. This is how it affects you. This is how it affects societies. There are so many ways to use social media to the board's advantage. Unfortunately, right now, the board posts their posts through the SMUSA Instagram. While that could be effective, SMUSA has so many different departments and so much range. Unfortunately, that can get lost. That is exactly why there should be a board of directors Instagram page and having more fun and engaging ways to learn about policies. Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna start again with Kristen for this next question. Noah, would you like to ask?
Sorry, can you repeat the question one more time for me, please, Noah? So, in my opinion, it relates back to getting to be familiar with your team, right? It's like if we are all communicative and we understand our strengths and weaknesses as a team, then we'd be able to understand where people have certain conflict of interest, personal bias, vendettas, etc. Right? So, in my opinion, just essentially being able to coordinate your team as well as having maybe even like say if there's two policies, say if it's like HR and governance and societies, right? What if we had maybe a general member as a third party to make sure that it remains impartial, even like if it relates to a certain sector, get maybe potentially get the VP as well in that certain sector to get involved to have an impartial decision, as that's unbiased from both parties. Thank you.
I think as a board of director, it would be your responsibility to know your limits as well. If you know that something is a conflict of interest, you have to know that this is something I have to step back from, or you have to be able to be responsible enough to say, I'm going to take my personal biases out of this and look at it from a professional manner. But of course, we'll always have our other board members there to hold us accountable. If something is a conflict of interest, if they feel like this is something that personally affects you, I think you should step back. It is then your responsibility also say, okay, I agree, I'm going to step back. So yeah.
Can you repeat that question again, please, Noah? Communicating with people and treating everybody with fairness and making everybody involved, I would say, and like making the sense involved in the sense talking to people and making sure that everything goes on a right track. That's it, I guess.
One important function of the way that the board operates is that all of the committees have multiple people within the board sitting on them. That's to make sure that we avoid conflicts of interest where possible, to make sure that we have those diverse perspectives. But then all of the actions that are carried out for the month by each of those committees is reported on at the public meeting where the public is able to weigh in. So that's the way that we keep the SMUSA's board of directors from being just an echo chamber where we have a couple voices who are, making those decisions. And it's also important to remember that we understand that we are not a body of infinite knowledge of these issues. So SMUSA is always dedicated, and as a board of directors, we will be dedicated to bringing in those outside parties when we don't fully understand the scope of a problem, or when we understand that there may be some kind of conflict with our personal backgrounds and the issue at hand.
I think it's super important to keep our personal affairs outside of the meetings. At the end of the day, I think walking into the meetings, we have to think about that. Our students rely on us, and I can't go in there and think about myself. At the end of the day, I have to think about all my students that rely on us. So thank you.
I would say that let's say if there's a discussion going on about something, and I have a personal bias about it as a board member, I would, like I mentioned earlier, I would just take a stand back, and then I'll declare the conflict of interest because it's um, it's better for the integrity of the board. And even in a situation where I don't stand back and I don't declare the conflict of interest, there are other board members who will help me accountable for my mistakes, and will make sure that our personal bias doesn't influence the decision that we make. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Also, just thinking back to what Tyler had mentioned, this is the idea that we have 9 board members to fall back on. We have 9 people who are keeping us accountable, who understand the policies and who understand how decisions should be made, both unbiased and impartially. Additionally, I think this is another call to action for encouraging participation, like in one of our other questions. Making sure that the students as a whole keep us accountable is another way to ensure that we are always making sure that all perspectives are considered and that we are impartial as a whole. Additionally, when we're looking at making sure that everything is unbiased, another thing is to remain humble. You are on the board of directors, but you are also a student. So think about how this would impact you if you weren't where you're standing. This is very important to make sure that you are still grounded, even though you may be elected and voted on by your other students. Thank you.
I hate to regurgitate what everybody is saying, but yeah, holding each other accountable is super important, whether that be from another board member's perspective or a student perspective. But I think a great way that we could possibly do that is similarly to when you have group work in classes, we could have monthly or weekly peer evaluation. We can hold each other accountable, but you guys can also have a chance to see how each board member feels about another. And yeah, there may be some conflict of interest there, but I'm sure that we could find a way to make sure that there's a way to represent everybody's effort just so that everybody is held accountable. Thank you.
I'll let Lisa. I'll give you guys 2 minutes for this one because it's a bit more in depth.
So the first part of the question, or what are some actionable things that we'd like to do as a, okay, well, I've mentioned the boards. I think that we do need a digital aspect of all our events. but also a really ambitious take from mine is our textbooks. I've said I'm really ambitious about it. I think that professors who teach their classes and have students buy their textbooks every single semester when they can possibly give us the chapters, I think that is a bit unfair. I think working for students to have those professors and able to be able to, I don't know, maybe mitigate the cost, maybe set it at a particular price level where it's more affordable, especially if they have the ability to give students this resource, I think that they should. Another thing that I have been told that is a big problem is these extra websites and databases that students have to buy. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to go about fixing this, but that's another problem that I think needs mitigating. So yeah.
I think that according to the president, president is a person who sets vision to the entire society, entire SMU body. So I feel like communicating in between the president and the board and treating everybody with a fair deal so that everybody would accept what the president's vision is, and then where would it take the student body. Yeah.
In terms of actionable items, I know one big thing is policy review, both looking at SMUSE's internal policy, but also where we sit on the Board of Governors and the Academic Senate, have a systematic review process for our representatives there to look at it and see how those policies impact SMUSA. And then also implementing some strategic planning on the board's behalf of looking at if there's any mandates that we have for a 3 or 4 year outlook of some more ambitious goals that SMUSA could set to try to accomplish for students, and set some real goals to be implemented in that, and develop those goals in communication with the president and the executive team, as well as the student body in the executive team's communications with them. In terms of if there was something with the president's mandate that we didn't agree with, but the student body was overwhelmingly behind, if the student body is overwhelmingly behind something, it is our duty as a board of directors to stand behind the students. So we make sure that if the reason that there's a conflict is because of maybe an understanding of an existing policy, maybe we have to review that policy, or maybe we have to figure out if it doesn't work well within the system, how we can amend that system to make the president's vision and the students' voices a reality.
I think throughout the whole night, a lot of people has mentioned the word transparency. So I will be transparent. When you talk about the plan of actions, I don't have one yet. And that is the truth. I walk in here and I hope to walk out with improving the communication between students and SMUSA. That's what I've been advocating the whole night. For the other question, you mentioned that about the president and how the board of directors might not agree upon whatever you mentioned. I think ultimately everybody here has the best interests of students. Everybody thinks about the students, and ultimately, if the president think is something that is good for the students, then I will fully support that. Thank you.
So about the situation where the vision of the president and the vision of the board of directors is different. In a normal situation, we'll just try to come to a common ground between both the parties. And in a situation where the student body is also wants the same vision as the president, then the board is for my fellow board member said that the board is for the students. So if the students want something, then we will go with the vision of the president. Thank you.
Okay, so for the first part of your question about actionable items, I feel like I've been advocating this most of the night with my anonymous feedback platform, my social media, but also one of the things that you may see on my posters or in my posts is that I also want to mandate monthly committee meetings. This is ensuring that we are continuously working towards goals. Currently, committees only have to meet 2 times a semester. This, unfortunately, I don't think is enough in order to have goals be met and have actual items seen from these committees. When thinking about the presidency, I agree with most people of what they have said here, is that if the president has an opinion that is supported by students, that is inherently the prerogative of the board is to support its students. However, if the presidency of the president is only acting upon themselves and doesn't have any support from the students, that is something that we would advocate for because we are here to keep the president accountable. It doesn't really matter necessarily if it's one student, it is the student body as a whole. So if that is a majority, that is exactly what the board is going to work towards. Thank you.
So in terms of actionable items that I want to work towards, one of the main things that I thought needed change at SMU was students with disabilities. They need to redeclare their disabilities and provide documentation to receive accommodations yearly. And I honestly don't think that that's fair at all. If a student has a disability, it's likely that it's not just going to disappear. So I think that lifetime documentation should be enough to cover that. Yeah. And then, so I think in your question, you said, if I'm solely the one that disagrees and then the rest of the board agrees with you, is that what you said? Well, I honestly think it depends on what the nature of the disagreement is. And as a member of the board of directors, if I'm elected, it's in my interest to act in the students' best interest. So honestly, I think that whatever I feel is in the best interest of the students is what I'm gonna fight for at the end of the day. Thank you.
Fantastic question, Lisa, by the way. So first things first, my action items are a little bit iffy at the moment. I brought what I do. I don't like making false promises. I went and directly talked to the elections team about my action items directly to make sure that they are properly fitted to be fitting the role of board of directors. Then make sure that I'm not making any false statements, making sure I'm keeping my promises and making sure I'm not overinflating expectations. So I'll be having meetings overall to continue what my action items are, but I do have some I could talk about, which would be one is I want to add to the budget lines of the during the finance committee, every single SMUSA student paid position salary onto that and for that, so that we essentially have our performance would be equal to the funds that we're taking from the students. So that means that people who are questioning what we do and what we're paid for, there's no disparity of confused wages, right? So that happens just really much with that. And secondly, as well as I'm trying to work on, there's a little bit of an anonymous Dropbox I'm working on myself, but on a more severe level. But I've been talking with the elections about that currently, so I'll get back to you a little bit more later on that. And secondly, again, if the students, I am a servant of the people. I have no power without the students' influence. So if the president's saying one thing and the students are saying another, then we have to as a job of the board of directors, we keep the president accountable. So we'll evaluate both sides with fairness, critique, equity, as well as no conflict of interests, and then proceed to do the best decision overall for both the students and from the president's perspective. Thank you.
So we have time for one more quick question, and I'll give it to Alex Lindy up there.
First of all, can you repeat that question again, please? I couldn't wait. I would say fairness because we come from different places. I'm an international student, and there's a lot of different people here. And fairness is one of the best things I could come up with, I guess, because by fairness you can deal with a lot of things in a right and acceptable way, which the student body would also accept and go ahead with. Yeah, thank you.
I think that leadership takes a lot of forms. It can look like leadership in the community and representing yourself as a new student, like the work being done by Square Roots. It could look like leadership through innovation, like we were able to do with Ilagi and the Halt Prize competing in London. It can look like elevating student ideas through the presentations we do with Enactus and competing on the TD Entrepreneurship Competition this year. It can look like bringing in our new students and bringing in the next generation of SMU, whether that's supporting people within, primarily within Enactus, it has been my involvement, but also helping out with mentoring with SHAD program over the summer and being part of all of the recruitment efforts for the Sobey School of Business at all of the open houses, speaking in this room about my experience as a student. All those, like, the leadership experiences are diverse. They make up, they come from different perspectives, and I'm excited to be able to bring all of those to the board of directors.
I'm going to be very truthful again. I don't have a lot of past campus leadership experience. This is a big step for me. The reason I'm here today is because I'm at the point where I understand where students are, and I'm willing to be the one who represent the students. And again, just because I don't have the experience does not mean I'm not capable. Thank you.
As for experience, I don't have currently any leadership experience in SMU, but back in high school, I held the position of vice president of the student union. Through that, I learned that there are a lot of things that you need to keep into consideration. There's fairness. You need to think about every single student that's there. You need to be accountable to, you need to take accountability for every single decision that you make. And then even if we do make a mistake, it's fine. We can improve in the future as well. That's it.
So I'd like to touch on two experiences. My first one is with Square Roots. I work with two other people, Tyler and Ashley, to lead an executive team of 9 students that helps tackle food insecurity across Nova Scotia. So this brings leadership from being able to handle logistics, operations of 20 locations across Nova Scotia in order to delegate produce, markets, and finances. Lastly, no worries, I'll just keep going. I'm also a peer academic leader on campus. So this brings both student leadership experience, but also with rules and policies. I have direct guidelines on what I can talk about and how I can help students with their academics, but I can only do so much. I can't give them the answers to their assignments. I have to be a leader with rules, which is directly a reflect of the board. I can lead students. I can help bring that experience back to the board, but ultimately we have policies and procedures that everybody must work around. Thank you.
Honestly, similarly to Dominic, I don't truthfully have a long list of leadership experience like some of the people here. They're pretty qualified. They're great candidates. But I think what is going to make me a leader going forward is the fact that I'm going to consistently show up. I'm going to consistently care, and I'm going to consistently have the best interests of students in mind. Thank you.
I'm going to speed run this right quick. So essentially, when I was in security, I was acting manager of one of the biggest crisis centers in Cape Breton. I've actively dealt with shooting threats at the hospital on multiple occasions, making sure I am the one placing people in places where they may have to fight for their life. On top of this as well, I was the VP Finance of my student union in Marconi campus, now Sydney Waterfront, where we lost 3 of our members in the first 3 months. So me and the VP Services had to come up and we had to fill up those 5 positions with 2 people. So I know what it means to step up. On top of this as well, I was the only person from Marconi campus to ever do the International Hedge Fund course at NSCC, learning from a small town province or a small town rural Cape Breton to working into the privilege of hedge funds investment banking. Top of this, I've also done a student venture with Enactus in my year here, Local Link, VP strategy of that. Was it on top of that? Just I've also represented over 400,000 students through the Canadian Alliance of Student Associations. So yeah, I've been a leader in every single front, not just federally or regionally, but also nationally. Thank you.
So I think the biggest thing about leadership is honestly leading by example, which I think that all of our candidates here have been doing. Even just taking this first step is a way to lead by example. Sorry. For me, in my first year, I was really passionate about being involved. I was in open houses even before I became a student ambassador here at SMU. I was also on academic welcome panels where I talked to the new students about what it's like being at SMU, what it is like, what challenges I may have had in my first year. And also, there's a podcast out, and I'm speaking about what it's like being, well, I was an English major, I'm now a philosophy major, but what it was like being an English major. And I think, particularly with my student ambassador job, at school, I think time management is very important. And I think for a member of a board, it's very important to be able to manage your time. And that leadership possibility has taught me how to manage my course load, how to manage an extra job, manage shifts. And I think stepping into this, adding one more thing, I know I'm adequate and I can do this. And I think that is a great trait for leadership. Thank you. That's it.
So that's all the time we have today for questions. I would like to thank the audience, everyone, for coming. It means a lot to us for you guys to be here and listen and learn and engage with our board candidates. And secondly, I want to thank our board candidates for showing up, like being candidates. That is very commendable, putting yourselves out there and caring about your student body, SMUSA in general. I really appreciate that. I just want to have a few reminders. Tomorrow we have the presidential town hall, same time, same place, here. So if you want to talk with Lisa, our presidential candidate, ask questions, give suggestions, that's all tomorrow. And then, of course, campaigning has just begun. We're only in day 3, so I encourage you to follow the campaigns of all of our board candidates and our presidential candidate. And finally, please vote. It's really important. Of course, reminder, voting is February 10th to 12th. You will get an email and you can, it's all online, very quick, easy. Talk to your friends about it. Make sure to share with your friends that an election is happening in the first place. That means a lot. And of course, this will also is recorded, so this will be on YouTube, on the SMUSA YouTube page. So they can always, they didn't miss out. And yeah, just thank you so much for coming. Oh, and there's pizza outside the door. There you go. Surprise. I didn't know that. Yeah, here at SMUSA, we only have pizza. Yeah, that's why I